Hi, my name is Greg Ingham, and until I retired recently, I was a senior project manager at a large construction company. During the years in construction, sometimes you find yourself in odd places within a building. And this particular situation is when we were uh, expanding Yorkdale Mall. And we had to go and take a look at something in the lower level. And we found ourselves in a dark, abandoned space, no lights, had a sloping floor, and what appeared to be a projection booth and screen area. It turns out that these were the original theaters that opened with the mall, and they've just been abandoned. They are now just void space that lives on the P2 level of Yorkdale Mall. It's a very strange feeling to be wandering around in this dusty, abandoned place. I mean, none of the chairs are there, the screens are gone. It's basically concrete. The the stairs that used to be the exits to the side of the screens now basically go up and then stop at the underside of the slab, which is underneath the store right now. So it was a very strange situation. So to sort of give some context to that, um, I can tell you that those theaters opened in 1964 when Yorkdale was the largest, opened as the largest covered shopping mall in the world at the time. They were the Yorkdale Theater and Yorkdale Cinema. They were side by side. And they kept like that until the 80s. And then during the 80s was the big craze to go to multiple screens, smaller screens, the Cineplex type of situation. So the Yorkdale Theater was the first one. They split that screen into two, so there were two theaters there. And then the Yorkdale Cinema next door eventually ended up with an additional three. So that ended up with being four and two, so six, and became known as the Yorkdale Six. That went on until 1999 when the cinema opened. It's now the Cineplex. And the Yorkdale Six closed its doors at that point. If we were to go back in time and look at the mall in 1964, it would be dramatically smaller than the mall that you see right now. Yorkdale has undergone any number of expansions over the years, but when it opened, it had a Simpsons on the west side, which is actually now, or was, the Bay. It had an Eaton's on the east side, and south of that, there was a Dominion. And the theaters were in the opening called the Bazaar, just to the north of where the Dominion was, on the mall side of the Dominion. And you would come into the mall, you'd go into the theaters, and then you would immediately go down the stairs to the theaters. So they were always in an underground area. However, at that time, they were sort of towards one end, towards the south end of the mall. Now that void space is more or less central. The interesting thing is that when the mall was built, as you may have noticed if you've ever been to Yorkdale, that you won't find any loading docks anywhere on the outside of the building. That mall was built with all of the loading docks and trucking underneath the mall. So as the mall expanded, they added underground parking, expanded the trucking alleys and loading dock areas. That cinema space became more and more isolated. And eventually, when it closed, it became um, just a void space that can't be used. With the floors being sloped and all that stuff, it's just far too expensive to demolish it and actually use it for anything. And it's in a kind of awkward spot to begin with. So that is kind of why we have this space that's stuck in the middle of nowhere on the P2 level at Yorkdale Mall.